Okay, we're going to start the Port of Bellingham Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. We are doing this almost entirely by Zoom due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Anybody wishing to speak is going to be allowed to in just a second. Roll call. Commissioners present, Mr. Michael Shepard.
Here.
Commissioner Briscoe.
Here.
Commissioner Bell is here, all three in attendance. And now is the time we reserve for anybody wishing to make a public comment. I think I'd better start by closing the executive session and opening the public meeting. How about that? I'm a little loopy, so forgive me. But now we will start the public comment. Anybody wishing to make a comment? Carrie, do we have anybody signed up?
Nobody signed up here.
Nobody in the building? Of course, you wouldn't know, would you? Anybody online? I don't know who 2966747 is. All right, that being said, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda, Carrie, if you would.
Excuse me.
Oh, let me go back to the public comment. Tom, I think you probably will have something to say in public comment. Is that true?
Yeah, I just logged in here. Are we talking about my lease?
Sure.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if the commission would consider the possibility of extending my potential lease term to allow for more time for me to recover from my initial investment on all the improvements I plan to make to the property. That's it.
It.
Tom, I think we're going to delay the action on your item today and have real estate get back in touch with you and negotiate the easement that you requested and potentially a longer term that would be mutually agreeable by both of us. So if that satisfies your request today.
Yeah. What kind of delays are we looking at? I'm just trying to get things rolling.
We would put it on the agenda in 2 weeks. So it would be on the first meeting in February, which is going to be the first Tuesday in February. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Okay. All right. If you think that's best, Rob.
Yeah, I don't think we're prepared to take action
Sure.
today because we haven't reached an agreement with you. So we'd be negotiating here in public and that's not going to be productive. So I think, if you and Shirley can sit down, hammer out the last few details on this, we'll put it back on the agenda in 2 weeks and we'll get her done.
It's the 2nd, Rob. February 2nd would be the meeting.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm good with everything. I'm just hoping to revisit the easement and then also just be open to potential adding options on the lease is all. So
Yeah.
other than that, I'm good with it.
No, and we get that, but the easements are going to require some nuance, right? We've got to describe those easements and get them documented. And I don't think we can do that here on the fly today.
Roger. Okay, I was just thinking that was a separate item that we could address in the future, but if you think that's best, Rob, just so I hope that, I'm very committed to this and I want to get going when we can.
And I agree, Tom, the lease and the easements are separate issues, but we should address them at the same time. Just have one deal, get it done and give you a long-term lease and then, give you long-term easements for those that you need and then give you a lease that meets your criteria.
All right, if you think that's best.
We're all on that page, Tom.
Okay, well, thanks, you guys. I'll just wait to hear from Shirley.
Okay. That being said, anybody else have any public comment? Before we move on? Okay, let's go to the consent agenda. Carrie? We had this last time, didn't we?
Can't hear you.
You're gonna have to go over your computer.
I'm going through both. My computer is all the way on.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
You speak up a little bit, yeah.
I'm practically yelling. Can you hear me now?
There you go. Now we can hear you.
You gotta turn the mic off for the AV in here and use your computer.
Turn my computer off.
No, leave your computer on, turn the AV system off your mic.
When I turn this off, they can't hear me.
No, it's the other way around.
Okay. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve consent agenda items A through C.
Now we lose Ken.
I muted mine. I was listening to Rob. Commissioner Shepard, do you have any comments?
I don't.
Commissioner Briscoe?
I do not.
I do not either. Carrie, one more time.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through C.
Oh. Go ahead.
Motion to approve items A through C on the consent agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to presentations, the COVID-19 update.
Scott, that's you.
Just getting things set up here. Thanks, folks. Commissioners, pleasure to be with you again. And let me say thank you very much for both your warm welcome and the warm welcome of the Port leadership and staff for my return back to the Port of Bellingham. It's an odd situation to kind of return to a job that you were almost in. As you may recall, I actually had 11 days there as a Port employee before Rob was asked to allow me to come and support Whatcom Unified Command. That was on the 16th of March. I spent that next month as the planning section chief for Whatcom Unified Command, and then on the 20th of April was asked to assume responsibility as incident commander for Whatcom Unified Command, and continued in that role essentially to the beginning of December, at which point I transitioned to the health department, taking over responsibility for incident command, and then helped to facilitate that transition, and took a few days off over the holidays, and then came back to the Port at the beginning of the year. But I wanted to share with you a little bit of my experience there at Whatcom Unified Command, and make sure you have good insight into the value that the Port brought to Whatcom Unified Command. As you know, this was a partnership between the county, the city of Bellingham, the small cities within our community, as well as other local special governments, including the Port and the school districts, as well as NGOs and the local healthcare community, all in an effort, a joint effort, a coordinated effort to minimize and mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 throughout Whatcom County. And that includes not only the public health impacts, but the social impacts as well as the economic impact. And the Port played a huge role in that, and continues to. Obviously, through Don Goldberg and the work that he and the business support team have provided, providing leadership to businesses throughout Whatcom County to help minimize those business impacts, facilitate their return to opening with our move to phase 2 earlier in the COVID response, but on an ongoing basis as businesses try and understand how best to work through the governor's modified phases and as vaccination continues to progress through the community. I want to be sure that you are also aware of the specific activities and generous assistance that the port provided to a number of various needs throughout my tenure at Whatcom Unified Command. Of course, as I mentioned, Don's leadership role on economic development, but also the port provided some key support in providing us options associated with looking at the relocation of the homeless shelter drop-in center. That was, of course, a big concern initially as we recognized that kind of close congregate living environment for vulnerable populations had the potential to significantly spread COVID, not only within that community, but across the broader community. The port provided some options to us that gave us different opportunities to address that issue. Another key piece was the port providing options for the establishment of the community-wide COVID-19 testing location. As you're likely aware, the port made space at the Bellingham International Airport available, and Whatcom Unified Command put significant effort into taking a look at what it would take to build that out and implement that in that location. Ultimately, an alternate location was selected, but having that as an option was an important factor in making sure that we could provide that service to the community and increase the COVID testing capacity within Whatcom County. Of course, we face some additional challenges here in the months ahead, vaccination being a key component of that, and as a first step towards recovery. I believe that there are opportunities for the port to continue to support the community through those efforts. And likewise, there will be after action report and lessons learned. And I think the port will have important information to provide to county as well as city government on different ways that the port can integrate even more in the future should another emergency of this nature occur. With that, I just want to again thank you, commissioners, as well as thank the leadership there at the port for the support you provided me, and quite literally the support you provided for my family. A multi-month emergency response is a very stressful event, and it takes a stress not only on the individuals, but on their families. And I greatly appreciate, as a new port employee, everything you did for me and my family. Well, thank you very much for that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for the effort that you put into there. Commissioner Shepard, do you have any questions?
Let's see. So the hot button question I'm getting from everyone is, where's that vaccine? How do I sign up for it, and where do I get it? You know, I'm participating in the calls. I know we're getting all the shot out the door and into arms that we have locally. Can you walk us through any of the upcoming milestones that you think our community will see, and some of those best access points for the general public to know about, with how they are able to make sure that they are ready and able to get that vaccination?
Thanks for that, Commissioner Shepard. I'm reluctant to speak to that very much, because not being directly involved with that anymore, I really don't have much line of sight to where the health department is going with this. I know from my own experience, as well as the comments that I've heard from our public health director, Erica Lautenbach, that the big issue right now is just supply. We have the infrastructure in place. We've got the plans. We've got the staffing and the coordination with the local healthcare community. It's just physically getting the vaccine from the federal government down through State Department of Health and to Whatcom County Health Department. I think the best thing that we can do is be poised to be able to assist with that in any way possible. And with the information that the governor put out here within the last 24 hours, I'd say, including the ability for folks to be able to log on to the website, kind of put in information about their personal situation, and on the basis of that, be able to identify whether they are currently eligible for vaccine, and then put them in the queue so that when they do become eligible, they'll be reached out to either by email or by phone and text. I think that's a key step forward, and perhaps one of the best things we can do is be directing folks to that Department of, I believe it's Department of Health website, where they can assess their eligibility for vaccination.
Great. Well, I've sat in on lots of the incident command meetings and briefings, and I really appreciated the level of professionalism and organization, how so many different branches of our Whatcom County government came together, from small cities to agencies like ours and everyone in between, integration of the private sector to really meet an unprecedented challenge. And I think it was done with a lot of excellent execution. So I really thank everybody who's been involved in this operation. We are better as a community for it.
I agree.
Mr. Briscoe?
Right button, push the right button there so I can talk. Hi Scott, how you doing today? Thanks for moving forward and doing the work you did. It was instrumental in things moving forward. I guess the only question is, I mean, always in the back of my mind is our small businesses, you know, our small restaurants or our places like that. What's the outlook? When are we going to put these people, let these people go back to work and say what business they can? What do you foresee, or do we know?
Again, this is really my personal opinion, and I guess I would say professional opinion. You know, being an emergency manager by profession and with my tenure at Whatcom Unified Command, but I think quite honestly the answer that lies in our hands as the citizens of Whatcom County. We will be able to have small businesses open back up as soon as more people wash their hands, wear a mask, socially distance, and do those things that they can do to help minimize and limit, if not eliminate, the spread of COVID. What we're seeing though, and both the numbers bear this out, and then the case and contact tracing information, is that people continue to get together. It now seems to be in smaller groups as opposed to the big event, but people do continue to get together inconsistent with the recommendations that are coming from our public health professionals. And I get it. I mean, I really do. Boy, if you know, there's a top 10 people with COVID fatigue, I may be one of those top 10. And I do think that at some point you end up having to kind of balance the physical risk against the mental health risk of being isolated from people who you care about and who you need to see. That said, you know, I think ultimately we've got a responsibility to one another, to our community members, to do everything we possibly can to to help minimize that spread. And you know, the professionals tell us the way to do that is to stay apart from one another, wear a mask, and be washing our hands and using hand sanitizer. I think the port's doing a fantastic job with managing the workspace and our workforce and doing the business of the port while still maximizing the ability to do just that. And boy, if everybody else in the community was doing everything the port is doing, I think we might be in better shape than we are.
So I guess one more question for you. You being on the inside and discussing more with the specialists in these areas and this and that. Everything we've done, I mean, in the state, everything we've done, we've closed businesses, we've done many things, and the numbers still rise. So what we did, was it really the right thing to do? Or is it just the fact we don't know what to do, so we just did some things? Maybe you could shed some light on that for me.
Yeah. I don't think it was a shotgun approach. I don't think it was, well, we got to do something, so we'll just, you know, we'll do this and hope it works. I think that there are a couple of things that are really at the core of this challenge. The first is that although you know, this is a global influenza and it is a coronavirus, and we know something about coronaviruses, this is a new coronavirus, and it is, you know, a new disease that we've never dealt with before and really didn't know how to address, and still don't, for that matter. I was talking with Elizabeth earlier today about, you know, vaccination, and one of the things that we just don't know is what how the virus will sort of respond within the community once we get more people vaccinated, and what it might do in the future. So there's that unknown. You know, I think we tend to think we know more about this medical condition than we really do. So that's, I think, the most important thing. I think the underlying second issue is one of just behavior change. What this required is people changing their behaviors. And that's really difficult for people to do. And it's particularly difficult when people are being told that something, you know, is going to impact them, but none of the people they know are impacted, and none of the people they know who know people are impacted. So there are those that think, well, you know, this, you know, can this really be true? I'm a scientist. I rely on the scientific process and believe in it, and put my faith in those people who are educated and are specialists in their field. So personally, if they're telling me that this is what I need to do, both to protect myself, my family, the people I love, and my community, I'm going to do what they tell me to do. And I think, you know, if there's one thing that we could have done better, it's probably figure out how to help people address behavior change. It's a really, really difficult situation.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the big outfalls of this, that bad outfalls of it, is the stress on people and the mental issues that it's bringing forward. I see it on a daily basis. People, depression more than anything. I mean, and that's a serious thing to deal with. So thank you for your time, Scott. Thank you for your answers. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner.
All right,
Yes.
going back to the vaccine, that website, the Phase Finder, is not easy to find. Can you work with Mike Hogan to get a link on the port website that's very prominent so that folks can just click on it and find this Phase Finder?
Absolutely. I know we can do that. I know one of the biggest challenges is it has just been overwhelmed. So many people that have tried to get on just can't get on. But I'll be happy to work with Mike to make sure that there's an easy, prominent way for people to find it from the port's website.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And just a quick takeaway for me, having tracked all this throughout, we had a significant number of deaths early on in this pandemic more than half of the ones that we've got, or at least half of the ones that we currently have recorded in the county came early in. And then it's just been a steady drip. And I'm wondering what that says to our ability to treat and the improvements in the treatment of the disease at the hospital level and in the home environment, and what the mortality looks like today versus what it looked like from the beginning.
I agree with you, Commissioner Bell. Everything that I have seen and heard suggests that our ability not only to better understand how to treat, but also the testing and the ability to detect it earlier in the course of individuals' illness has been instrumental in keeping the mortality low. The last numbers I saw were that the overall mortality rates across the country were still right about where they were predicting that they would be at the very beginning. You know, kind of, and there was a range there. It was, you know, between 1.5 and as high. In the early days, it was as high as 5%. Most of what you heard was between 1.5 and 3%. And the latest data that I've seen has been fairly consistent with that. But again, that's across the country.
And the last outbreak right after Christmas seemed to have been tied to some of the sheriff's office activities. Is that what I read correctly? That I saw that at least the majority of the cases that we had during that huge explosion here in the last few weeks was that it was in the Mount Baker district, as well as some of the rural areas of the county, not necessarily in the city of Bellingham. And then I read something about the sheriff's department being included in that. Is that valid?
I would agree that all the data that I've seen are the areas, and they've been tracking from very early on in the response. The decision was made to try and track the case occurrences based on school districts. It's not about not about school-age children or those involved in education. It was some of the discussion was, well, should we track it by zip code within Whatcom County? Should we track, how geographically should we track it? And there were some decisions made early on that doing it by school district would help with anonymity to a better degree. So that's the way we've been tracking it. And it is true that particularly the Nooksack and Linden school districts more recently have had the highest case numbers as compared to the other school districts. And that has waxed and waned a little bit over time. There have been times when one part of the county, Ferndale area, for example, or the Bellingham school district had higher than others. But more recently, it has been the northern sections of the county that we've seen the most cases. With regard to the sheriff's office, you're stating that as the first I'd heard anything about that, Commissioner Bell. I don't have any information about that.
It was probably on one of those wacko websites that I tend to frequent. Thanks for everything you've done, and welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else got a question? Okay, let's move on to action items.
Can you hear me, Ken?
Carrie, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
No, you're not.
Thanks, Rob.
Oh, now you are.
I tell you, I got 3 computers in front of me and I can't get any of them working. All right, action item 1, authorize the executive director to execute a 3-year personal service contract with USI Insurance Services for health and welfare insurance broker services.
Elizabeth, I think you're up.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to attempt to share my screen.
Thank you.
Do you see my presentation?
I can see it.
Yes.
All right, there we go. So it is again time for us to renew our partnership with USI, formerly known as Kibble and Prentice. And I will just go through a little history that we have with them to talk about why this is such a good partnership. So you may recall that back in 2014, we had a request for qualifications for broker services and had a team of employees who evaluated and critiqued a various number of brokers under consideration, and we chose Kibble and Prentice as our broker moving forward. Previously, we were with Wells Fargo, and that was a very long-term relationship that we decided to change and move in a different direction. And Kibble and Prentice provided us the framework to move away from our fully insured medical and pharmacy plan into a self-insured plan. And we implemented that plan in 2015. It was very successful to the point where we decided to transition our dental and vision plan, which was self-insured at the time, but it was a direct reimbursement plan. And we moved that to the self-insured plan is like a standard dental plan and not a direct reimbursement plan. That took place in 2016. And then we signed an extension, a 3-year extension with USI in 2018. And through the years, they've continued to provide plan modifications and analytics so that we understand how our plan is doing compared to market. They've given us wonderful ideas on how to make changes in the plan design to maximize our dollars and still maintain what truly is world-class healthcare for our employees. And they have been such incredible partners with us, helping us understand and navigate some of the changes. You know, they go over and above what we think that they need to do sometimes and give us data. They can give us so much data to go through. But then also with COVID, they were very helpful in providing us guidance on some of the regulatory changes that were in place for medical plans. And so this motion is recommending signing a second 3-year extension with USI. And to talk about how wonderful a partner they are, this is the screen that we like to show. So in 2014, you see the fully insured premium over there on the left, $1,728,486. That is what we paid for a fully insured premium. The quote that we got in 2015 from Regents, they decided with significant pressure that they would decrease the cost because their cost was very high, but that little over 1.6 million or almost 1.7 million, the self-insured plan cost was $1,278,433 for a net savings in just 1 year of $415,483. And then what this graph or this shows is assuming a 10% increase on the fully insured plans, which is what the market was doing. Those are the estimates that you see under the fully insured premiums. And then you see our actual costs for the self-insured plan. And 2020 is still, that is an estimated amount because these numbers were given to us at the time of our benefit renewal time. But you can still see the dramatic savings that we've had. So if we had to have paid the fully insured premium, which I'm sure we wouldn't have, we would have had to change the plan dramatically. There's no way that we could have assumed that significant cost increase over the years under the fully insured plan. But the move to the self-insured plan, you know, that number is pretty amazing. It's almost $4 million in savings. So they truly are a partner with us, and they have provided us some wonderful opportunities to navigate the plan, make modifications, and to continue to provide outstanding healthcare benefits to our employees. And then the cost for the 3-year agreement, some pretty little numbers here. So currently, or 2020, the annual fee for the broker service was $60,000. And they have come to us with a 3-year proposal to maintain the status quo on the cost, so no cost increase for 2021, and then a small $5,000 increase in 2022, and keeping that flat in 23. So compared to almost $4 million in savings, I think that this is a pretty reasonable proposal to maintain this partnership. And so we are recommending approval of this motion, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Commissioner Briscoe?
Well, I don't have any questions. I think it's pretty straightforward. Thank you for the presentation, Elizabeth. Very good. I'd just like to thank staff. This took place just as I was coming on board, basically to be a commissioner. And I'd like to thank staff for their hard efforts and their continued ongoing analyzation of everything that's going on in that industry to keep us where we're at and provide the staff at the Port of Bellingham the excellent coverage they have at the excellent savings that they're doing. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Shepherd?
Not much else to add. It's a good plan, and I think it rewards our great employees with quality benefits and helps us to retain the good employees that we have. So I like that we have this attractive health insurance, and I appreciate all the work that goes into it. That's it for me.
So just a quick question from me, Elizabeth. The slide back, it shows the variation on what we pay from our self-insured program. And it tends to fluctuate. It went from $1.2 million to $1.5 million, $6 million, and then it went down in 2019. Is that just strictly based on usage? Did we use it less in 2019 than we did in?
And we actually, 2019 was a tough year. We had a number of large claims in there. So we did, and when we have those large claims that hit the stop loss premium, then we get the reimbursement from the stop loss carrier as compared to having a lot of littler claims. So it could have decreased there. I do believe, so our stop loss plan has a rebate in it, so that if we hit certain amounts of the stop loss or lower, then we get some money back. And I believe that in 2018, we did qualify for that rebate, and we saw that rebate in 2019. So that could also be part of the reason for that reduction.
Good to know. Thank you. I have no further questions. You gentlemen ready to vote?
Yes.
Carrie, if you would.
Ken, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good. I'm on my cell phone. It was my third option. Authorize executive director to execute a 3-year personal services contract with USI Insurance Services for health and welfare insurance broker services.
Commissioner Shepherd?
Yes.
Commissioner Briscoe?
Yes.
Commissioner Bell is a definite yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, action item number 2 has been removed from the agenda. So we get to move on to other business.
Rob, do you want me to start? Okay. So we have a couple memos here. The first one is to authorize a commission vice president to sign approved commission documents that request the commission secretary signature. The secretary anticipates some work related to travel in 2021 that would make it difficult for him to sign documents.
I don't know. I think we should make him come back in. I'm okay with
But
this.
there is another option. We guess we could do this electronically. I mean, it's.
No, I'm good with this.
Sounds good to me.
Vote on that, Rob? Is that,
Yeah, just a quick vote. And we try to go everything we can electronically, but some things still require paper. I think this just gives us that flexibility.
You want me to make the motion?
Please.
Please.
Okay. I motion to authorize the commission vice president to sign approved commission documents that request the secretary's signature.
Commissioner Shepherd,
Yes.
Commissioner Briscoe,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell is also a yes, unanimously passes.
Okay, we have one other business item from staff, and that is Elizabeth's going to talk about that one.
So at the last meeting, we had a motion about our employee recognition luncheon, which obviously we can't have this year. And so we had a motion requesting the authorization to purchase gift cards for all of our employees, not to exceed $50. And that you passed that motion. We've now found out, Tamara did a bunch of research on the taxability of gift cards, and we do indeed need to tax these. And so what we would like to do is have a motion to increase the amount of the service awards previously authorized due to the taxable nature of the award. And what we're thinking is that we would like to have that amount not to exceed $70 so that employees would actually have the equivalent of $50 to use on those gift cards.
How high is the tax on a gift card?
Well, it's general payroll taxes, so it all depends on.
Under tax?
Ordinary income, Ken. Ordinary income.
Did somebody actually ask Tamara to go do this?
In my job description.
I am 100% supportive. I didn't think, yeah, I'm 100%.
I make a motion to increase the gift card not to exceed $70.
Second.
Now we got to vote.
Are you in favor, Mr. Shepherd?
I'm in favor.
Commissioner Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bell is also in favor.
All right, thank you very much.
Commissioners, that's all the staff has for other business.
Any other business from your end? Commissioner Briscoe?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Keep everybody rolling here till for a few minutes, I guess. Question, it's been a while since we talked about the tiny homes location on port property. Do we have an update at all, Rob, of what's going on with that stuff, or Michael or anybody know?
Yeah, Commissioner, I'll give a quick update, and if Michael knows more, please jump in. The city of Bellingham is working to find a suitable operator for the site. I believe they're talking to Homes Now and maybe a couple others, but right now they don't have someone to operate the property once we lease it to them. So the concept is we do a lease with the city takes the property and hires someone like Homes Now to manage it on a day-to-day basis. And that's the step they're working on.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
Yeah, my only update is I think Homes Now did a big stand up for the tiny home village at Geary Field, at Civic Field. They got in about 25 homes built in Ferndale, and those are being used, and it seems to be have worked pretty smoothly. And I imagine the organization has had a lot of their resources and time and volunteers directed toward that project. But what we have heard from them at the last Homeless Strategies meeting was that they did have capacity in their organization for one more management site. And so I know the city is in conversation, and this will be something that we talk about again on Friday. We have another Homeless Strategies meeting. So
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
I don't know, let's see, about, I don't know, last week sometime, Trevor Smith and Chip Burgess from 292 local gave me a call. We discussed a few things. And one of the things that Trevor and I discussed into further, Chip got caught, lost in the phones thing or something. I don't know what happened to him. He lost connection, couldn't get back or something, but, oh, he lost power. That's what happened. Anyways, we were talking about apprenticeship programs. General contractor, 292's got their fingers in some other apprenticeship program stuff in different counties, and it's been working very well. Some of it with school districts, some of it with other partners. And I think the port needs to get involved in this. I know there's some other folks around the county that are, I think, working Waterfront Coalition and so on and so forth, but nothing seems to be moving. And the further we wait on this stuff, the further it's a detriment to our young people. Our young people need some help figuring out what they want to do and then have the opportunity to maybe go do that in an apprenticeship school to find out that's what they'd like to do. I see a lot of kids now with no direction. And I recall when I was in school, it was a long time ago, but BTC had some great programs out there, and some of them have disappeared. And some of them, I believe, were the important ones. One of them was the wood construction, home construction. They used to build a home a year. BTC did. So anyways, I don't know if Trevor or Chip have contacted my fellow commissioners. Michael, I don't want to talk to you at all about that. Okay, good. Ken, did they speak with you as well?
Something is happening.
Yes, they did. We had a long conversation, and I'll share with you some of that as well here in a minute.
Okay. So anyways, I just want to make sure that everybody been in contact, talk about. I think Rob may have spoke with Trevor. I'm not sure by now, but I think it's something that we need to help them get off the ground. I think there's grant money. There's different monies available to help with this. And maybe some of these tiny home, I mean, the cost I heard to build these tiny homes was pretty high. Maybe this can work into that apprenticeship program to keep, to build things like that. I mean, maybe it could all roll into one and everybody could help each other for a change here. And Ken, if you want to speak to this right now, it'd be good. And I got one or two more things to.
Yeah, Mike, we had a long conversation about what worked and what didn't work in these apprenticeship programs. And I think it's going to take some time, and I would love to bring it to the commission for some review this year, because I think apprenticeships have incredible merit. But some of the programs that have been rolled out tended to either favor a certain business type, or, for example, in Skagit County, the businesses that couldn't meet it, they were given exemptions, and they wound up giving more exemptions than they did actually have apprentices on those projects. So I'm afraid that if you put something like this in place, we're either going to narrow it down to the big businesses that can afford it and wrap it into their bids, and the smaller companies would be the ones that would suffer. So how we navigate those waters, and by the way, they had solutions to all of those things, and I just want to hear them out about how that works, because I think they even understand that it's going to take some tweaking. But for example, if you have a project that you only have 4 people on board and you have a 15% apprenticeship requirement for that, and you're bidding the low bid, you can't necessarily put an apprentice on there if you're a small business. And I think.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on a different page. I must not explain myself very well. This is apprenticeship schools. This doesn't have anything to do with how many apprentices have to be on a job site.
No, and I'm completely on board with the schooling.
Yeah, no, this is the school side of it. The other side of it, I'm not sure where we're at on that. And yeah, what you've said is correct. So, but I was on the school side of it.
Yeah.
And we put a building up. We got a school. They're building stuff on site. They're, that type of thing. Not the requiring somebody to do something part of it. The other,
I've seen
because part of, in my mind, part of requiring these businesses to have the apprenticeship people, you can't send somebody out there that doesn't know what a hammer is and expect them to build something. I mean, it doesn't work very well. Or what's a tape measure? I don't know what that is. So my thought was to solve some of the problems that or many of the problems that the employers would be faced with this move to make apprenticeship mandatory, although it already kind of is that, okay, that's great, but we have to supply those apprenticeship people. They have to have some level of knowledge when they get to that job site as an apprentice as to how to put their tool belt on, wear a hard hat, you know, and what each tool is and what it does. Simple things,
Yeah.
nothing real technical. But
100%
that's
support.
what we spoke. That's what Trevor and I and Chip spoke about after we spoke about the things you were speaking to.
Yeah, no
So-
question. And I've seen the benefit of that. I actually live next door to a guy who used to run the culinary arts program out at the community college. And there's nothing better than a good working environment for apprenticeship to put people on the job, and they're ready to go. And there's nothing more that we want as employers than somebody who is ready to go. So from that standpoint, the education component is critical. If you have a guy on the site and he doesn't know how to drive a clutch, you can hardly put him on a backhoe, right?
Yeah. So anyways, Trevor was going to get in contact with Rob or vice versa, and they're going to explore some of the avenues. I know there appears to be monies available for these programs to work from outside entities. So and I surely, as the Port of Bellingham, would like to promote something like that and give our children and our young people coming out of school, or even in school. Some of this is worked out with the school districts. From what I understand from Mr. Smith, some of the school districts and counties to the south of us, they work with them, and it's been an on-site project for the school districts. So I just wanted to bring that forward, that's the discussion that maybe you guys didn't go to the other discussions. So
Commissioner, I see Chip Burgess has just started up his camera, so I've got a meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock with Trevor and Chip, but Chip looks like he has something to say, so maybe we give him that opportunity.
No, I have nothing to add. I do appreciate you guys speaking about this tonight at the meeting, and Rob, we do look forward to speaking with you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that piece of it. I know we had spoke about the apprenticeship language for bidding to replicate the current language that the Whatcom County Council adopted a year or two ago. And I think Rob was going to do some more research about that and get back to at least me. But I'll look forward to hearing some more about this proposal as well. I think we can see the benefits of apprenticeships, and it's always nice when people who know what they're doing in the industry help to get those apprenticeships up and running. So that creates that pipeline for employment that we're looking for.
And I know the screen says Pete Granger, but I know that's not Pete. Unless
I've got a couple more things, Ken.
I think she wants to. I think she just wants to speak to the education portion of this. Is that correct? Yeah.
And I understand that there's a public testimony period coming up. We'll wait for that.
Okay. Thanks. Go.
Oh, a fisherman's pavilion timeline, Rob. Where are we at with that? There's been a couple questions given to me. I thought we might as well air it out right here and everybody can hear.
Yeah, and Greg Nichols not with us today. I'd ask him to give this update. We have run into a bit of a snag with the contractor. They put in a change order before they even started work. In my opinion, they should have vetted all this before they even put in a bid. So for them to bid and then say, no, we can't honor our bid is going to be a legal issue. So, we really enjoyed the bidding criteria was pretty close. We enjoyed the bidders. I think if we have to go to the number 2 bidder, that will be just fine, but I've got to work through the lawyers to get us there. So very unhappy with how this has started off. We haven't even broken ground yet. To have significant change orders is just unacceptable, and we're going to work through that. That being said, I'm comfortable that we can still get this all done in time for this season towards the end of the summer and have a building done.
Okay. Thanks and no thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Rob, an update on the Point Roberts Ferry program, how that's working out?
Yeah, I believe it's working out well. The ridership's a little down because of the winter time frame. We've had a lot of cancellations the last couple of weeks with the high winds and the high seas. A couple of king tide days made it really hard to sail when you combine them with those winds. So we apologize for everyone for the last minute cancellations, but we're not going to sail if it's not safe to do so. But we've been averaging, 20 to 30 people on the Point Roberts main runs, coming here from Point Roberts and going home to Point Roberts at the end of the day. And so I think it's worth keeping the service going until we get that border open. I don't have an update on the border. I don't know if Don's on here, if he possibly has an update on the border. I'm assuming there's nothing new, no new good news on that.
You assumed correctly. Basically, they extended it another month. We are finding that both sides of the border patrol agents can make the call. And so there's some inconsistencies on some of the businesses coming down. Some are allowed one day to come down and the next not. So we're trying to figure that out. But basically, everything's the same as it was.
Huh. Still a mess. Okay, and then I see, being in Blaine every day, I see our bulkheads are pretty much in place. I see it looks like they moved the big crane back and they're done driving sheet pile for that one section. See them dumping rock and moving dirt around today. So that looks like that's moving forward on time. Am I assuming correctly there, Rob?
Yeah, Commissioner, unfortunately not good news there either. The costs have greatly exceeded the budget on that project. The damage was far worse than we originally expected. So I think there's going to be a phase 2 to that project. Mr. Keenan, I don't know if you have an update on that one that I'm not aware of. I'll take that as a note.
Hi there, Brian Keenan, project engineer. Let's see, I don't have the pulse on that project at the moment, but we can get you an update tomorrow if that's needed.
So Commissioner, on that one, because there is some complications, I will work with the engineering staff to write something up and get it to you in the next day or two.
Okay, no, I'm not real panicked about it, Rob. But they did finish the work there, the sheet pile part of it, right?
Yep, we didn't get quite as much done as we expected, but a lot of the work is done, and I think it's in better shape now than it was. It's just we uncovered some other damage that we're gonna have to address at some point in time. Looks like Jennifer Allen may want to talk.
That hinders, is it the monetary part to stop the work, or we've got damage we've got to fix before we can keep going?
Hey, Jennifer, did you run meeting yourself for a reason, or?
No, that was an accident. I'm sorry.
Okay, I just thought maybe you had more to add to that. Commissioner, yeah, we found more damage. It's both a monetary issue and, have to figure out how do we do the repairs.
So we have to do repairs before we can continue with what they were going to do?
Correct.
Okay. Because we're under a permit situation here, and if we have to back off on this, how many years we got to wait now?
Yeah, so we're getting done as much as we can in this fish window, I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe the extensive amount that we've uncovered is covered under the existing permit, so we don't need a re-permit or a new permit, but we will need to go into a different fish window.
Okay. All right, I'd like to talk more about this with you, Rob, and maybe get some more information on it here, because that's really going to slow things down there, so.
Yep, lots more conversation to be had on that one as we're uncovering it and figuring out what the solution is, for sure.
Okay. And that's all I have, Commissioner Bell. That's all of my other business. Thanks.
Mr. Shipperd?
Yeah, Rob, we had talked about the potential of a rent relief concept for our restaurants that are continuing to suffer. I thought that was going to come to us this week. Are we still working on that, or we have a change of plans?
Shirley, you're muted.
Sorry, for the record, Shirley McPherson, Real Estate Director. That was on the last agenda. And so we have a program in place that covers our restaurants, and it's not a rent.
Oh, I guess we did that, right?
We did. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm living in the past, man.
Don't worry.
Well,
you're the only one, Michael. Don't feel bad. We put somebody on National Guard property, and I was trying to give it away last week.
Well, you could just say done.
Well, we're trying to get something done.
Well, there's a lot going on, so thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm glad we've made that happen, and good decision on our part.
And I'm the one on medication.
Well, that's why you're so composed.
Yeah. All right. I don't have any others. That was my only one. I think, Rob, we mentioned that we were going to talk more about that, the apprenticeship language, and seeing if that's a good fit for us here at the port. So I know you were going to have a conversation with someone at the county and to hear how it's been implemented and some of the successes or any challenges that have been experienced. So I'll look forward to hearing more about that and see if we go any further with that.
And with that, you're done?
I'm done.
So we've got about a half hour, Rob. I'm hoping you can stretch this a little bit. I'm looking for an update on what the summer plans are on the waterfront, where we sit with the container village, how we're looking for vendors that might occupy any of those spaces we might put down there, and how's the city been to work with on that?
Yeah, so lots going on down in the waterfront. I was down at the pump track this weekend doing a little work on it after the late rainfall, and I was shocked at how many people were riding it on, I think it was Saturday morning. 9 a.m. the thing was packed with people, and it didn't let up until noon. So it's apparent there's a demand for some services down there. We're going to start off in the early spring with a brewery operation. So not just a beer garden, but a full brewery operation where a local vendor is going to be brewing beers down there. That's going to be pretty exciting. We are working with that vendor on several food trucks and other containers that may want to be down there. We've got a local sponsor for a stage that wants to put a stage down there. So we're going to work to be putting that together and work with local groups that want to rent that stage and have different events down there this summer if they're allowed. Obviously, we're under some restrictions from a health department standpoint on what we can and can't do right now. So we're going to be very mindful of that. But we're going to do as much as we can. And we're going to get it done as fast as we can. Some bathrooms are going to be opening. I know there's a big cry by the public to get some bathrooms down there. There should be 2 bathroom facilities open there before the brewery operation opens. So I'd say March, April timeframe, you're going to see some grass growing. That hydro-seeded grass, once that takes, it'll allow us to put some traffic on it and get some of these other things open up. But the plan is that, the pandemic willing, that we're going to have some businesses operating down there and have it be a very active space this summer. Sorry, that didn't take a half an hour.
No, and you're not seeing any permitting issues with the containers and.
Well, yeah, we haven't gone that far, and I suspect there will be some because it's new and it's different, and not a lot of people have done it. Commissioner Shepard and I visited one in Vegas that was really well done, but it was more like a permanent structure, and this one I think is going to be a little more temporary. That may be hard for some of the planners to get their arms around, but I'm sure that we can all be reasonable and get this thing done.
Restaurant pandemic stuff was on the last agenda, wasn't it?
Somebody's talking and they're not unmuted.
It's Shirley. No, it tends to go the other way around. It tends to go where it starts out as a temporary structure and then moves into a permanent structure when the success of the operation is realized. So
well, we're going to have a difficulty with that just because Harcourt has the option to develop that property eventually, and they won't see the highest and best use being a container. But our goal is to make this such that we can move it around to different areas of the property. So it starts off in one location and catches fire and becomes very popular. Then we'll just move it to a different part of the property.
Wasn't that, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but isn't that the building that Ken wanted the upper floor room in? Wouldn't that be about where the containers were going to go?
No, I wanted that top floor in the granary. By the way, on that note, I am really thrilled to see what's going on down there. If you haven't been down there in a while, go at night, because the lights that are on in that granary building are just tremendous, and the way they shine through the waterfront. I don't know if you've seen that. It's pretty wonderful, and you can see the work going on inside the building, so you know they're doing some tenant prep, and it's just a matter of time before we have that occupied and just the news that it's 100% leased now is a tremendous boost to the waterfront. Now we just need to get the housing and the rest of the things in place. But I was excited to see that. Otherwise, I'm out of ideas. How do you proceed? Do you want to continue to talk, or do you want to?
Maybe I just got one last one, and then if we want, we can take a short break. If Don has any, or anybody else on his team, I know there is new federal money that's coming through with the second round of coronavirus relief package. Are there, what should our local business community know about accessing any of these new forms of funding support or loans that are coming through?
Thanks, Commissioner. Don Goldberg, Director of Economic Development. As Commissioner Shepard mentioned, the new programs are out. Most of them, what we're pushing now is the PPP program, the forgivable loans. That is open for application now, and probably the best program out there, especially for small businesses. It is open to to small businesses that already applied and received the PPP on the first round. If they have not been forgiven their loan yet, we're asking them to go through the forgiveness process first, or they probably will not be applicable. The main entity that's working on these new programs is the SBDC. CJ is taking the lead, and we're supporting them. There's a number of grant programs. The state is working on some additional programs for broadband. A lot of things going on right now, and some of it is not that clear. We're working with everybody at Commerce and WIDA to get clarity. But and then, of course, we know there's a new $1.9 trillion program that's going to be coming up. A lot of changes occurring this week, and there'll probably be a lot more clarity coming up over the next week. But I would suggest any small businesses that are looking for money in which they would not have to pay back, they should apply with their local banks for the PPP.
So Don, what about nonprofits? Nonprofits haven't been able to apply in the past. Are they able to utilize the resources this time around?
Yeah, both C6s and C3s are allowed to apply for all of the programs, including forgivable PPP.
Okay, very good.
I got a quick question for Mr. Hogan. Is that okay, guys? Can I make him turn his camera on? Hey, Mike, I'm wondering about the new legislature and what you see coming from that. We've got a bunch of new members and a lot of stuff on our plate, including MATCA funding. So I'm curious to get your take on how the new transition is going to go.
Yeah, Commissioner Mike Hogan, Public Affairs Administrator. Yeah, last week we submitted testimony to the Senate Ways and Means Committee and the House Capital Budget Committee, basically supporting the Remedial Action Grant Program, and we have a number of projects that are listed within that program that'll really important to continue the cleanup on Bellingham's waterfront and up in Blaine Harbor, and continue to support those jobs. And so as we move through the legislative session, that'll be, one of our highest priorities, as well as rural broadband and a number of others. So we've reaching out to the legislators. Obviously, things are busy. Things are going to be completely different this year. We do have a Ports Day scheduled where you commissioners will have an opportunity to speak to each of our electeds in the 40th and 42nd. And so that's really important to build those relationships. And I know that some of you have personal relationships with those delegates. And so really important just to maintain that communication, to work with the Washington Public Ports Association, the AWC, the Association of Counties, and all of our other stakeholders, you know, I think the key is protecting those remedial action grants, as well as all the other priorities and offense and defense that'll come up as we move through the session.
Hey, Mike, is there any specific bill that we're tracking around MOTCA, or are we just communicating a broad message?
You know, as of now, it's the governor has proposed the budget. It's just, you know, kind of the starting point. And so there was a big legislation last session that changed the way revenue streams are collected with the hazardous substances tax. And so that was really positive, a good thing for the solvency of that fund over the long term. That being said, you know, it always comes down to, you know, the end of the day, and the legislators have that opportunity to sweep that fund. And so we want to make absolutely sure that doesn't happen. Even though, you know, obviously we're in the state of emergency with COVID, we just really need to communicate that the most important part of, or one of the most important parts, is going to be the economic recovery. And to that extent, the remedial action grants have and will continue to be extremely important. So the answer to your question is the governor's proposed the budget, which includes really good funding for cleanup sites, which are really important for Whatcom County. And so we'll continue to do all we can to protect those projects that are listed and make sure they get funded and protect that program moving forward.
All right.
But I want to say that, you know, there's the governor's proposed budget had about $75 million in remedial action grants funded, and we for Whatcom County projects have about 20 million of it. So you know, I think part of that is we've done really well. You know, we have a huge need. We've done really well accessing that fund and demonstrating that we're a reliable partner, committing local funds. And but again, you've seen with the ASB and our other cleanup sites, we have huge needs moving into the future. And so we'll just have to really not only laud our successes, but look to the future and say, you know, that this is not going away anytime soon. And we need to continue to clean up the environment and restore the health of that waterfront economy.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I had the opportunity to meet with Representative Lakenoff and other members from the 40th and 42nd district last week, and was able to communicate that same message to MOTCA. For my fellow commissioners, I found it useful. Representative Lakenoff is holding a every other week meeting for other elected officials to join her and representatives from the 40th and 42nd district, just so they can hear from us, we can hear from them about what's happening in the legislative session. It's a challenging year to participate in the process, and I appreciate that our representatives are making an extra push to provide an access point for us to participate and to be informed. I found it useful. And I communicated some of those broad general things like MOTCA. And Mike, one of the things that they communicated to us at the end was if there are specific bills, you know, they're tracking very specific bills at this point that they're sponsoring or co-sponsoring. And so if there are some of those specific ones that we're wanting to impact or give support to, that's useful information for them at this point as well.
That chant was pretty good, Michael. That MOTCA. I think we need to get you a $1 bill suit and put you in it at the WPPA meeting. Have you stand up and chant that one.
I could do that. I'd be willing to do that.
All right, with that, I'm not opposed to starting the public comment. I have a feeling that we got a couple of people who want to talk, and it'll take us to the 5:30 hour if you guys want to just keep rolling. I know we have Debbie Granger in the queue. Would you guys be willing to do that?
Commission, before
I'm
we
good
go
with-
to that, I missed an update. Can we ask Tiffany to give a quick waterfront activity update that I missed?
Sure.
Go ahead, Tiffany. Tiffany? Okay, I'll give the update. So, starting on, I believe it's June 2nd, let me just confirm the date here. Yeah, starting on June 2nd, every Wednesday through August, there's going to be a Saturday market, so a Wednesday market down on the waterfront on the corner of Granary and Laurel. So the Saturday market you see take place in the Depot Market there on, I guess it's Railroad. On Wednesdays, we'll be moving down to Granary and Laurel through the summer. That's it. Now you can go to open public comment.
Is that going to be a more workable space?
I'm not sure where it's been held in past Wednesdays. It's, I know it's been kind of an on and off program. If anyone knows where it's been the last, I know it's not at the Depot Markets, they're on Saturdays, but I'm not sure where historically it's been on Wednesdays.
It used to be in Fairhaven at Market, at the Fairhaven Green.
So probably a little more space here than they have over in Fairhaven. More parking anyway.
Okay, so Debbie, do you want to put in your 2 cents? Which, from your standpoint, is worth a nickel at least?
Oh, video. What video? Sorry. Good evening, Debbie Granger, the Working Waterfront Coalition. As you know, we presented to you about a year and a few months ago about the potential of an apprenticeship program on our waterfront focused on the marine trades. And we did some good work on that, and then the COVID happened. Oh, actually, there was a pilot program. Northwest Explorations had 6 apprentices in a pilot program starting September of 2020. And when COVID hit, that stopped. So, but we are resurrecting it with vigor. And the marine trade sector, as you all know, has, initially maybe had a few bumps, but has survived, and some of them even are thriving through this pandemic. And so we have worked really hard to bring this together because there are unbelievable regulations and layers of bureaucracy with establishing an apprenticeship program. If you all thought that getting Dockside Market permitted and approved was complicated, this is probably 10 times, 20 times. But I am determined, and we are all determined, and we've had some great participation. It's being called the Northwest Maritime Apprenticeship Program. It's not just specific to Whatcom County or to one company. It is a larger umbrella. And we felt like that would have a better chance of it going through and being approved from the Washington Joint Apprenticeship Council that meets quarterly, and they are the gods of determining what gets approved and what doesn't. So, but we have to now develop our standards. We have to work together and develop our standards and our program. And so we're excited to get this going. I would love to make a presentation to you all or a written report about this. We did write a grant for the planning effort, and we earned that grant. And some of you, I heard you say there's money available. There is, once it's approved, so that getting it approved is what we really need to work on. And then you also mentioned that there's a downward extension into the high schools. That program exists. It's called Career Connect, but you have to have an approved program for them to feed into before you can reach out to the younger generations. So we're working really hard. Our timeline is to get all of our standards written and presented to this council by the end of February, because you have to have it to them 45 days ahead. Then they look at it in middle of April, and if it gets blessed, then we will move forward with gusto to market this and to get our, we do also, as you know, there is a classroom component to all apprenticeships. It's called RSI, Related Supplemental Instruction. So we do need a classroom for that to happen. And that's where I would like to speak with all of you about that, because we're not only looking at this as being a space for apprentices, but it could also be a place for short courses for Volva Penta and other Cummins folks. Engine, they need to recertify their technicians every so many months. So having that space so that the vision of having Bellingham or the Port of Bellingham being a maritime technology focused entity would be really cool. Our internet connection is unstable, it says.
Okay, when I spoke to this, Deb, it's not about the marine, what you folks are moving towards in the marine trades type apprentices. This is your general construction apprenticeships, whether it's plumbing, wiring, conduit, those types of things, in conjunction with the labor or the Union 292, those folks, Chip and Trevor. So I'm not stepping into the marine trade side is what I was speaking to. I know that you guys, what you have that going and you're ongoing to that. I'm speaking to the stuff that we're not going to be speaking to, that the apprenticeships that I think are just as important. So there's no, and the monies I speak to are on that side of the table, nothing that you're focusing on. This possible other money comes from a different entity than I believe the one you're speaking to. So don't misunderstand it. I'm trying to disrupt what the Working Waterfront Coalition is moving forward with, because that's not the case.
I did want to say that there is every single presentation that our governor makes and that our Department of Labor, at the federal level, as well as the Department of Commerce, this gal named Lisa Brown with the state of Washington, they're all talking about the importance of building up apprentices, apprenticeship programs. And Bobby, as you know, there's apprentices, there's hundreds and thousands of them actually, in the healthcare field, in construction, in marine trades, and everything. So they're all talking about this, but actually getting these things developed is not easy.
No, it's the same old thing. Let's sit around and talk about it and it never happens. But I don't want that to happen. I want this stuff to go. I remember when I was a kid, you could go be an apprentice for whatever you want to do. You could go to Bellingham Tech School, and they even had a fishing class for crew members. I mean, and all of a sudden we got into the computer age somewhere along the line. I'm not sure where it happened, but we switched to everybody had to be a computer wizard or into this high tech stuff. And they all forgot that you got to have a building to put that stuff in to do it. And they forgot that it had to be wired and it had to be plumbed. And, we just dropped all the stuff that was the infrastructure to support the high tech stuff. So we need to it's going to come full circle back to everything. It always does. So, sure. But thank you for speaking to that, Deb. I appreciate it.
Sure. Well, we look forward to partnering with the port also on this. So thank you.
And we know what you mean when you say that.
Well, what I'm talking about is having a facility that would be great to.
Yeah, oh, we know.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Deb. Anybody else have any other public comment that they would like to share? Commissioners, do you want to take a 10-minute break and come back and reconvene? Or
I think that would be appropriate, seeing as how it's not quite 5:30 yet, then we can, if there's no comment, Commissioner Bell, you could close the meeting then.
And then we'll come back for public comment at 5:30.
Sounds good.
Okay. See you then. So I just got a message from my LinkedIn account, and LinkedIn wanted to know if I knew me because it wanted to connect with me.
Careful how you answer that one.
Hey, Ken, before you close the meeting, I have something I'd like to say. So if you're after public comment.
Done.
So what'd you tell him? Did you say you knew him? Did you accept the request?
Oh, I ignored it. Like I do most of LinkedIn's requests.
Fair enough.
Do I know me?
Well, that's a good question. You said you're on medication.
Boy, you should have caught me a few days ago. I was wired. Woo! It was a strange feeling.
You do know you're still on public meeting, right?
Yeah. It's okay.
Just checking.
And it's being recorded.
The strongest thing I'm on right now is Advil, so I'm in good shape.
Yeah, John raising his eyebrows over there, so I was curious.
It's just Ken being existential was quite interesting.
Well, I got 5:30, gentlemen.
All right, we're open for public comment. Anybody on the line that would like to speak? Seeing no one. Jennifer, you lit up. Do you want to say? No? Okay. Seeing that, Commissioner Briscoe, you had a comment?
Yes, we unfortunately we've had a longtime fisherman pass away. Robert Glinovich, owner operator of the St. Zita. Bob passed away a little over a week ago now. I believe it was. I can't remember, but anyways, one of the oldest fishing families in Bellingham, and I'd just like to maybe we could take a minute for him, if we could.
Why don't we? Moment of silence, please. Thank you, Bobby.
Yep. May the wind be at your back, Robert.
All right. Anything else from anyone else? Not to ruin the moment. Thank you so much for a good meeting. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.